Hello and welcome to my channel. This is my tropical style garden here in the UK, and today is Easter Sunday, so I thought I'd do a little walk around the garden, a bit of a tour, show you how it's fared over a mild winter but a very wet winter. So let's have a look around. So let's start with this border first and work our way around. This is the main border that I see from my house pretty much every day. So I use lots of, all over the garden, use lots of hardy evergreen plants and half hardy plants to try and make my garden look as good as I can all year round. Obviously it looks better in summer when I can add all the tender plants out, hopefully at the end of April, May time, and add that extra bit of tropical sort of colour and flair to the garden. But I've been messing around with this because anyone that's watched my previous tours, I've never really liked it. It's always looked a bit confused. So what I've just done is I've tried to tone it down a little bit and use more group planting and then fill the gaps with other plants. So some existing plants. This is Persicaria Red Dragon that's been in absolutely for years. Not the ideal spot for it because it'd probably be better further back with more room. I do have to prune it down to sort of keep it low like that, but it sort of helps add that bit of colour to the base of the trunk. Then we have this Chamaedorea radicalis, lovely sort of shade loving palm, to be fair. Been in quite a lot of years. I've only had to protect it in the most extreme winters. It does really well there. Love the palm, would love to add a few more. Just added this Euonymus because I sort of felt like I wanted some more sort of a smaller leaf shape but a little bit more structure to it, and something that was going to be a bit architectural all year round. As I looked at the garden, I know you wouldn't probably consider this as tropical style plant, but when the other plants going around it, I think it will just sort of blend in but give me that sort of contrast between different leaf shapes. I've kept the purple Phormium in the back. It's never really done very well for me, and I planted it in neighbours, in customers' gardens I should say, and it's always done really well, grown 3-4 times the size of this. It does get a lot of sun here. It's free draining soil. Yeah, for some reason it's just never really took off, but I'm going to give it a chance because I sort of want that purple hit at the back there. Then here I have took out a Bettinaria euconoides, if I've said that right, and planted, it just looks scruffy all the time to be fair, so, and planted more of these, I'm going to call them Aloe striatula, even though the name's changed now, but I'm old school, so I'm going to stick with that. These should be pretty much hardy for me. It's a free draining soil here, plenty of sun. They might get cut back in the worst winters, but hopefully should come back. But they're easy to take cuttings from. But yeah, give me that sort of bit of architectural structure that I'm after. The Chamaerops cerifera, it's fine. It's looking very green. Hoping we get a nice sunny summer that might sort of blue it up a little bit. Then I've added a couple more Euphorbia Minors Merlot. It's just an eye-catching plant, especially in winter. It sort of goes really red as it gets colder, and just stands out pretty much more than any other plant. And then to sort of balance that off, I've got this Euphorbia Pasteurii. It's been in a good few years, now starting to get quite big. Totally hardy for me at the minute. Musa Bajou doesn't really suit this border, but I still haven't sort of got to the effort to maybe whether I'm going to dig it out or not. Unprotected all winter, nothing at all. Absolutely sort of fine. It's pretty much my only space in my garden that I can grow a large Musa bijou, so that's sort of why it's staying there, to be fair. Got the grass around the bottom there. I can never remember what it's called, so I can't help you with that. Then we've got the Mahonia Soft Caress, and then I've decided my Yucca rostrata, it usually sits on the patio, but I sort of want a little bit more interest in the borders, so I've decided to put the pot into the border, and then I'm going to plant this space just in front of it with some sort of low growing ground cover plant. Not dead sure what yet. I want something dark leaf, to be fair, to go with the euphorbias. Then this grassy type thing is, as I'm absolutely having a brain melt, I'm just going to remember that it's an agapanthus, that's what it is, an evergreen agapanthus. Hopefully that will sort of probably flower this year. And then we have salvia. This one is cherry lips. That one will produce sort of a purpley red type little flower, so it's a bit like the salvia hot lips, but it's sort of a red, no, it's sort of a purpley burgundy colour maybe, which goes really well with the euphorbias next to it. So part of the reason I wanted that Yucca rostrata in there is I like the idea of the pot in the border to give it a bit more height, but then the Torbay Dazzler behind it, it sort of tied the two in as I went around the border. So going around here, I have added another Nandina domestica. Just wanted that little bit of smaller leafed against the large leaves of the Camerops behind it. Like the idea that its new growth comes out bright red. Just sort of, once I get the ground covering plants around it, which I've yet to suss out, hoping that ties that all in. So this Phormium Torbay Dazzler I don't ever really talk about it. I've covered that one in my videos quite often because it's more of a single stem specimen, but this one just sort of always blurred into the background, and I've cut the Camerops palm behind it and took out a few of the plants to sort of make it stand out, because it's sort of got 3 stems to it, one that hangs out to the lawn and is actually really quite a focal point when you're actually in the garden. Now I started, and that's why I like this plant, I started in about the year of 2009, 2010, which was pretty much the coldest winter on record, and I brought this Torbay Dazzler in a little pot, and it had got frozen through that year in the nursery, and it pretty much died off straight away. I took it back to the nursery and they said, oh, they exchanged it for something else, and they said you can keep it. So I kept it. It came back from the ground, and all these years later it now looks a really, really nice specimen in the garden. So I'm a little bit sentimental about it, and reminds me of them really colder winters and how these plants can look if you give them a bit of effort. Going round, oh, let's go underneath first. So there's my Pittosporum Tom Thumb, which is very sort of little black leaves. I think that as it gets bigger, it's going to be a real good contrast against this Torbay Dazzler to the left. Then to sort of coincide that, this is so dry down here, even though it gets sun underneath, it's so dry because of the large shrubs and that above it. So I've gone for this Euphorbia, which is red wing, so I think it's new growth, or in winter I can't remember, will have tinges of red, but with its sort of more greeny colour and these yellowy flowers, they also tie in really well with the Torbay Dazzler. Then I've added another rock just into here to sort of break up the space a bit, and then I have put in these 3 Fascicularia bicola, which will really handle these conditions quite well because they're very quite drought tolerant, to be fair. So as they bulk up, they should hide most of that soil. I may find eventually that they grow to nearly over the grass, but I'll deal with that later on. Depends how well they do. And they're pretty much sheltered under the very squash looking loquat tree. Let's go down here. Very squashed Chamaerops humilis. One of them things, the same where you plant very small many years ago and then everything else grows really big. Hence why you should give these plants space that I didn't. Small Yucca rostrata got through fine. Cycas revoluta. I think apart from one, maybe 2 nights, did I chuck a builder's bag over this. I can't even remember really. It was just, yeah, it was just a mildish winter. I think I had about -3 Celsius as my lowest. And considering in my area, which is sort of North Cambridgeshire in the UK, I think we've had pretty much the wettest winter on records. And for a plant that loves sort of these sort of more arid conditions and is in the ground, even though our soil is quite free draining, especially because the big shrubs behind it and that help protect it. Not really a mark on it, so well chuffed for that. Another purple Phormium, proper debating whether to take that out because it, again, like the other one, just not working for me. I've then cut this Mahonia soft caress back a little bit because it was climbing all over this Trachycarpus princeps, so I pruned it back to give this a little bit more of a show. It's been very slow growing for me, but the last sort of year or so it's really started to sort of go, I want to give it some now, so good. Torbay Dazzler turned into a beautiful specimen, really is a main focal point of my garden, and it sort of balanced itself with across here with this Phormium Yellow Wave. The two together from when I stepped right back do tie in really quite well, even though many times I have debated to take this Phormium Yellow Wave out because it keeps growing over my grass. So Chamaerops humilis, anyone that see a video, I can't even remember when I did it, before winter maybe, I can't remember, but I said about cutting this Chamaerops back so I could seal the trunk. I have decided to do that. You can't really tell because I've put a couple of pots in the way, but that's only till I do the bedding in front of it. But it definitely makes it look more of a specimen now and sort of gives it a bit more sort of difference from the, I don't know, the blurred blob that it looked, to be fair. Okay, so I'm going to walk through round to the back. Not going to cover too much here because I'm going to do a separate video there because I've got some other plants that I want to plant into this side border. But let's walk through back round into the seating area. Okay, so tree ferns, hard to believe that it's just turning spring. Absolutely fine. Love a mild winter. They've loved the wet weather. Yeah, everything pretty much looks like it did in summer, to be fair. Just a few less plants in. I've got a few, I haven't got the tender plants all mixed in, so it looks a bit more bare. I have got a few ideas on a whole way of changing this area, so I'm going to see what happens there. A bit drastic maybe, possibly a stream or a pond or something. I'm not going to commit too much because I'm not dead sure yet. But the Tetrapanax papyrifer just come into leaf now, and it has started to sucker a little bit more. After about 10 years, I found a couple more in the borders. Let's take a walk round. I've now, I have to duck down because this Fatsia polycarpa, which I grew from seed many years ago, I thought I would plant down here in the shade because Fatsias love the shade, but all it's ever done is try to get into this full sun space, and now it causes me a dilemma because it's sort of right over the path. But I also sort of like it. Sometimes I like what nature does and how it sets the garden to itself that you don't plan for. So probably going to leave it. I don't think I'm brave enough to cut it back. Right, it's stuck under that Fatsia, round to here. Shady borders, still looking really good. Loads of evergreens in there, loads of contrast between plants from this variegated Nandina to the Akuba Rosanai. Then we've got Fargesia rufa, ferns that I cannot remember the name of. Pretty much one of my favourite plants in the garden. Fatsia, Polycarpa, Edward Needham form. And then there's the Variegata Fatsia behind, and this plant, which lots and lots of people ask me about, is Schefflera rhododendrofolia, and I have two of them, and they've both sailed through all my winters that they've been in so far, apart from a little bit of leaf damage. Let's move back. Another Camarops humilis with a few more evergreen shrubs and plants around it. So pretty much what you're seeing is how this garden has looked all winter. It's obviously just started into new growth, so it's looking a little bit fresher than it was, but even with all that wet, everything's doing really good. I have added, so under here I had Persicaria Purple Fantasy, which I dug up, and I've planted this Euphorbia purpurea. So this one prefers a bit more shade, I hear, than the Euphorbia Minors Merlot, but it does also, especially when it gets winter time and gets colder, get that very red purpley sort of colour to it, which is a great contrast for the other plants around it, and looks really good. I think the contrast between that and this grassy type Astelia Silver Shadow, and then that sort of complements that silver shrub at the back, which I bought as Brachioglottis. I think the name might have changed either way now. It might be now Senecio, something like that. And I'm also looking at possibly, I've just got one in a pot to see how I feel about it, but planting a Cordyline Red Star there, because I love the way that the sort of burgundy colour goes against the silver behind, and it just sort of ties in with the other burgundy colours that I've got round. So I'm either going to leave that in a pot or I'm going to plant one to see. But I think the colour really does work well. Trying to think what else to show you. Lots of the other parts of the garden are full of plants and a bit of a mess right now. So probably once I get that areas cleared up, I can show you that. I'll give you a little indication, because this is the mess on my patio at the moment, so hence why I can't really go into detail there. Plants waiting to go in here, and for a customer's garden of mine, need to get all that sorted because I'm hoping to build my other gazebo there. Right, I think I'll leave it at that because I felt like I've been blabbering on. Any questions, anything you want to know, please leave it in the comments. Anyone that knows me, I can go on about plants all day long, especially tropical style plants. Thank you very much for watching. Please like, subscribe, all that other stuff. It really does help. And see you soon.